The day they fired me, I remember the smell of burnt coffee in the office kitchen, the sound of laughter from people who used to call me family. I stood there holding the little envelope that said termination of employment, and my hands were shaking. My name is Sarah. And this is how losing my job because I was pregnant became the reason I built an empire bigger than the one that broke me. When I first joined the company, I was 25, fresh out of college, full of dreams. I worked in marketing at a tech startup in Austin, Texas. The energy there was addictive. We were all young, passionate, and hungry for success. I would stay up nights finishing reports, perfecting presentations, chasing every deadline with the kind of fire only someone who believes hard work always wins can have. My boss, Mr. Clark, once told me, "You're going places, Sarah. You're the heart of this team," and I believed him. Then one morning my test came back positive. I stared at the tiny plus sign and felt my heart race, not from fear but from joy. I was going to be a mom. I waited 3 months before telling anyone because I wanted to make sure everything was fine. And when I finally told the team during our Monday meeting, I expected hugs, smiles, maybe even a small celebration. Instead, there was silence, a kind of polite awkwardness that felt heavier than words. Mr. Clark forced a smile and said, "Congratulations, Sarah," but his eyes didn't match his lips. Over the next few weeks, things changed. I started being excluded from meetings. Emails went unanswered. My ideas were brushed aside. I was suddenly invisible, like my presence was a problem that needed quiet removal. The day he called me into his office, I already knew something was wrong. He didn't look at me when he said it. "The company's restructuring. We have to let some people go. Unfortunately, you're one of them." I asked why. He said performance reasons. I laughed because I had the best numbers on the team. He didn't respond, just pushed a document toward me asking for my signature. I stared at it, the words dancing through my tears, and I realized they weren't just firing me, they were erasing me. I walked out that building, pregnant, jobless, humiliated. For days I stayed in bed, barely eating, scrolling through job postings, wondering who would hire a pregnant woman. My savings were vanishing, and my confidence had collapsed. One night, I broke down completely, sitting on the bathroom floor, whispering to myself, "I did everything right, why me?" Then I looked in the mirror and saw the answer staring back, "Because you let them decide your worth, Sarah." That was the moment something inside me changed. I decided if no one would give me a chance, I'd create one. I pulled my laptop from under the bed and started sketching ideas for a small social media agency, one that would treat women with respect no matter what stage of life they were in. I named it Bloom Digital because I wanted to bloom again. I had no clients, no office, no budget, just a fierce need to prove them wrong. During the day, I'd reach out to small businesses from my couch, offering affordable marketing help. At night, I'd learn everything about business laws, client contracts, and digital strategy. One used my last paycheck to design a website, and within a month, my first client signed on, then another and another. They weren't big brands, but they were enough to keep me going. The funny thing about being underestimated is it turns pain into power. One afternoon, while checking emails, I received a message that made my heart stop. It was from an old coworker, Lisa. She wrote, "I thought you should know they replaced you with Mr. Clark's niece, and she has no idea what she's doing. Clients are furious. They're losing accounts fast." I read those lines again and felt a strange calmness. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt ready. Months later, Bloom Digital was thriving. I had a small office, 2 part-time assistants, and a list of happy clients. We were still small but growing faster than I could believe. One day, while at a local networking event, I saw him across the room, Mr. Clark, standing near the coffee table, looking older, tired. He didn't notice me at first. When he finally did, his face went pale like he'd seen a ghost. He walked over and said, "Sarah, I heard you started your own company. Congratulations." I smiled politely and said, "Yes, Bloom Digital." He nodded, pretending to be impressed, but I saw the flicker of insecurity in his eyes. We talked for a few minutes about business trends, then he mentioned they were struggling with brand reputation issues. That's when it hit me. He wasn't there for small talk. He was fishing for help from the same woman he fired while she was pregnant. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that moment in my head, his nervous smile, his fake charm, the irony of it all. Then I got an idea, one that would change everything. I decided to launch a campaign called Mothers Who Rise. It was aimed at empowering women who were pushed aside for being mothers. We helped small mom-owned businesses build brands online for free for the first 3 months. The campaign went viral within weeks. Major media outlets picked up the story. Bloom Digital was suddenly everywhere. One morning my phone rang. It was a new number. I answered and froze when I heard his voice. "Sarah, it's Mr. Clark. We need help rebranding our company. We've seen your campaign, and it's incredible. Would you be open to consulting?" I didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then I asked him flatly, "Why me?" He hesitated, then said, "Because no one does it better than you." I agreed to a meeting, but not because I wanted his business. I wanted closure. The next week, I walked into their office, the same one I had left in tears a year earlier. I sat across the same desk and watched him squirm as he explained their issues: declining sales, bad PR, team morale collapsing. I listened silently, then opened my folder and placed a proposal on his desk. My fee was 5 times higher than what they could afford. His jaw dropped. He said, "Sarah, that's too much." I smiled sweetly and said, "It's the cost of integrity, Mr. Clark. You can't put a discount on respect." He didn't hire me that day, but word spread quickly about how I turned them down. My story became a symbol of poetic justice. I was invited to speak at women's conferences, featured in business magazines, and soon big clients from across the country started calling. Within 2 years, Bloom Digital grew into a multi-million-dollar agency. When I gave birth to my daughter Lily, I held her in my arms and whispered, "You're the reason Mommy never gave up." Every sleepless night, every tear, every rejection led to this moment. I looked around my office with 20 employees, all women, all powerful, and thought about how far I'd come. One afternoon, while organizing old files, my assistant brought me a letter. It was from Mr. Clark. He wrote, "Sarah, I wanted to apologize. I was wrong. You were the best employee we ever had. I hope one day you can forgive me." I read it twice, then folded it neatly and placed it in my drawer. I didn't need to forgive him because I'd already moved beyond his world. Forgiveness wasn't for him, it was for me. Sometimes revenge doesn't need fire or anger. Sometimes it's quiet. It's waking up every morning loving your life, while the people who doubted you fade into their own regret. If you've ever been told you're too emotional, too weak, too complicated, too much, remember this: you're just enough. The world tries to break women who refuse to bow down, but every time they do, they only make us stronger. When I walk into my office now, I still remember that day they fired me. I remember the laughter, the pity, the sting of betrayal. But I also remember the girl who rose from that pain and built something they could never destroy. I am Sarah, the woman they tried to silence, and I turned their rejection into my revolution. I didn't just get even, I got better, richer, freer, and unstoppable. And if you're listening right now and someone has made you feel small or disposable, remember this: don't beg for respect, build it. Don't wait for validation, create it. Don't fight for a seat at their table, build your own. Because the sweetest revenge is not proving them wrong, it's living so beautifully that they regret ever underestimating you. This is my story, and if you believe in women who turn pain into power, then stay with me, because there are countless Sarahs out there waiting to rise, waiting to reclaim what's theirs, waiting to show the world that nothing can stop a woman who finally decides she's had enough. So tell me in the comments, what would you have done if they fired you for being pregnant? Would you walk away or would you rise?